Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Morgan's Pop Talks, breaking down the latest in reality TV and pop culture. I hope you've had a fantastic week. I'm finally getting over my bizarre little sickness that is now going on 3 weeks. I do still have a Vicks ready to roll. My humidifier is all the way up, so we're turning up on a Thursday. Wow, lots to discuss. I'm very excited because today, if you have heard Alyssa Amoroso, she has a podcast called Tea with Publicity. She's going to be on to talk about the state of Summer House. And I love her on social media, but I think this is going to be great because she used to be an entertainment publicist. So I think a lot of the questions that are coming up in the season of Summer House is in regards to, Carl's situation with Loverboy and, how calculated or manipulative is Lindsay? And those are the questions that people ask, right? But first things first, we're going to go ahead and get into the Pop 3. These are the biggest reality TV headlines of the week, starting with Vanderpump Rules. We got the reunion details because, quite frankly, the cast can't shut up. Well, I shouldn't say the cast. It's mostly Lala, Sheena, Katie sometimes, only when she goes on the Viall Files, which drives me insane because for Nick Viall to get so many exclusive interviews with the Vanderpump Rules crew and for him to call her Ariana the whole entire time, like on multiple episodes, just drives me nuts. But anywho, okay, so I got most of this information from Andy's radio show, Radio Andy. So he says in the upcoming reunion, obviously a lot of it, well, all of it is the scandal. Lala was saying that, before camera started rolling on the reunion, producer sent out a little poll and was like, do you guys want Sandoval to come out later? Because we want to give you an opportunity to share your storylines, but we fear if he and Raquel are there the whole time, that they'll just overshadow everything. And Lala was like, well, I think our storylines are important. What I'm going through with Randall, Sheena got married. Katie was dealing with stuff with Schwartz and Raquel. So let's give everybody the opportunity to speak. She said that did not happen. She said as soon as they were all in the same room together, it was gloves out, claws out, however you want to say it. Andy did say he did separate interviews with Tom, Ariana, and Raquel, and he asked them many of the same questions because he said he had his own concerns and he wanted them to own things I wanted to confront them about. So I'm interested to see what exactly that means. Like if it literally is 3 one-on-ones or if it was like a Tom and Raquel together, a Tom and Ariana together. But it looks like we'll be getting some one-on-ones. They did something like that with Robin Dixon when the whole Juan cheating situation happened, and it was a flop, in my opinion. So hopefully this one's better. Andy also called it a real reckoning and said that fans will get to hear their side of the story, Tom and Raquel. And also, he's like, if you want the cast to go head to head with these guys and confront them in an aggressive manner, you are going to see it. They wrap filming in 5 hours, which for a reunion is very short. Normally, it's a whole day affair. So the fact that they got everything they needed in 5 hours, and I mean, we'll get to this, how many parts it's going to be. I have a feeling the whole entire thing is going to be pretty explosive. Now, Sheena talked a lot on her podcast, Shenanigans, about the restraining order of it all. She was like, when Raquel was on stage, I had to watch from my trailer and vice versa. So it's just so wild that we're going to live in a time where Sheena had a temporary restraining order that was literally dropped the next day and Raquel didn't show up to court. So I really wish we would have been able to see those two talk about this because it's one of the huge subplots, that went on here, but unfortunately not. So I've heard that it's going to be 2 parts. I heard that it's going to be 3 parts and then an additional secrets revealed only streaming on Peacock. They're trying to get you to get that Peacock app any way they can, but don't worry, I got the app. So if you don't want to buy it, I'll watch it. I'll recap it on the pod and we'll be good as gold. You're watching too much Vanderpump Rules. I didn't even think about that. That just came out of me. That came from within my soul. It's living inside of me. the ghost of Sheena Shea. Also, something that I want to talk about is people are talking about the fight. Who fought? My prediction is James and Schwartz, but a lot of people thought it was the two Toms. And they're taking this little snippet from a Jax Taylor red carpet interview. And now I could have seen a different version that didn't give the beginning context of it. But everyone said that Jax said Tom. What I saw, he didn't say Tom. He just said, I talked to the two guys. And these publications, you know how sometimes when you read something and there will be something in like the little brackets, it's because they don't actually say their name, right? So Tom was in the brackets. And then Jax continued on. So they're saying like the context is here, we're talking about Tom. But when I go back and watch the interview, I never hear him say the word Tom. I hear him say it was the two boys. I talked to them after. And, he's still on good terms with James. So if it was Schwartz and James, he very easily could have talked to them after. And if he said it was the two boys, there's only three boys, and I really don't think it was Tom Sandoval. So my prediction is that it was James and Schwartz, that they were fighting. I don't know. I mean, in the trailer, you see James throw a drink in Schwartz's face. So maybe the feud is continuing to brew. Okay, let's move on to headline number 2. Irina from Love is Blind issued a public apology this week for her behavior on the show. She said she has privately apologized to the people she's hurt. She was sorry to the people who watched and felt mad that she was mistreating people. And she's like calls them out by name: Zach, Bliss, Chelsea, Amber. She says she wants to add value to people and make people feel seen. Being on the show was a mirror put in front of her face, and that none of those things were okay. She also said she hopes she can one day share her experience for what was going on emotionally with that, which is a bid for the reunion, right? I hope one day I have the platform to be able to tell the masses what I was thinking, otherwise known as invite me to the reunion, because I'm a big part of the show. People are talking about me and people want to hear what I have to say. Live reunion show, by the way. Only the second time in Netflix history that they're doing a live show. The first one was Chris Rock's Selective Outrage. So interested to see how that's going to go. At least we know it's not going to be 18 parts that don't make any sense. Can I be really honest? And this might be an unpopular opinion. In fact, I know that it is an unpopular opinion. But why does Irina need to apologize to us? Apologize to the people that you were rude to. Zach especially, she was so mean to him. But she's a reality TV villain. On the show, is she portrayed as a great person? No. But does my life change whatsoever with this public apology? No. And is she going to be liked all of a sudden? Probably not. I think what this kind of comes down to is she has to deal with public perception, and maybe that's the reason for the apology. She wants that public perception of her to change. I don't think it really does change with a 2-minute Instagram reel. I just think it's a bit much, right? Honestly, from the viewer's standpoint, what are we doing? I think back to Spencer Pratt, okay? The golden boy of reality TV villains would be canceled so quick in today's day and age. And now 15 years later, he's telling us, oh, the whole show was fake. You guys don't know that. And he's now, maybe not to everybody, but one of the most beloved people in reality TV. People actually really like Spencer now. So I don't know. I just find it a little bit unnecessary that we're holding these reality TV personalities who are just normal people to this cancel culture standard. It's not like a Kim Kardashian moment. This is her 15 minutes. She's not going to be well liked. Okay, so what? Let's keep it moving. I was reading some of the comments too, and somebody said I believe she feels bad and will learn in time, but this video felt rehearsed. Yeah, it's going to be rehearsed. You think she's going to go on there and have these millions of people dissect her public apology for being rude in a pod on a reality show? People are going to absolutely destroy her in the comments no matter what she does. You're going to rehearse it. I would rehearse it. I wouldn't want to go on there looking a hot mess. Everything just gets, blown out of proportion, I think, on social media. And I want to be clear. she sucks. like watching what she does on the show, she sucks. But it's reality TV. It's not that serious. It's Love is Blind. Okay, let's move on to our third and final headline. Dolores Catania, the first housewife to admit this week that she is using the weight loss drug Ozempic. So this weight loss shot has taken Hollywood and housewives by storm. And Dolores was on Watch What Happens Live this week. And Andy says to her, Dolo, you look thin. And then he says, Ozempic? And she says, yes, along with half of my cast. So, she's really the first person to come out and say, I'm using this, even though we all know that a lot of them are using it. When Andy asked, if there were any side effects, she just says, no, I'm just not hungry. And I might be the only one, but to me, it doesn't matter if I'm hungry or not. I'm eating. I'm the type of girl that being really full and being really hungry feel the same to me. So it doesn't matter if I'm not hungry. I'm eating. So I'm not sure that Ozempic would work all that well for me either. But she says that she's actually taking Monwaro, that it's another part of the Ozempic branch. And if you want to learn more about these weight loss shots, you got to go back and listen to my deep dive with Dana Omari, IG Famous by Dana. She really did a great job breaking down what exactly this is. So there are two big arguments going on social media right now about her admitting this. One, that this is unhealthy and triggering. And the other is that people are like, well, at least she's the only one telling the truth, unlike Kyle Richards, who allegedly dropped 50 pounds just by not drinking alcohol. It's absurd. You see Erica Jane on the red carpet. These people don't even look like the same people. And here's what I'll say about this. I don't know much about the research. I'm not a scientist, so I don't know when it comes to side effects and, long-term situations, but it does sound unhealthy, right? If I had to make an educated guess, if Dolores is saying, I just don't eat, that's unhealthy. And Andy even said on his radio show that somebody messaged him or sent in a question or something along those lines and said, Andy, this is the third guest that you have praised for looking thin. Isn't that kind of not what we're about anymore? Being thin isn't the goal. Being healthy and having a good relationship with food, that's the goal, right? On the other side of things, I don't think that it's out of the realm of possibility that these women are so scrutinized for the way that they look being on these reality TV shows. I mean, even when they post a photo, they're like, your face looks different. And did you get a boob job? I mean, the comments are endless. So the social media and the fame and the fandom causes a lot of these reality stars to have a really negative relationship with body image. So it's first of all, don't comment things like that, because you wouldn't like it if somebody said that to you. Just a rule of thumb, PSA for me, don't talk about women's bodies. But I mean, we'll find out in the future what this does to people. Obviously, we don't know the long-term side effects of it. I will say that there is this narrative online that this drug is hard to come by, that there are people that use it that have diabetes that need it and they're not able to get it. When we did the deep dive with Dana, she said that's not entirely accurate. So there's a lot of information out there, and I know it's easy to get confused. And like I said, all I can really speak from is not necessarily the science behind it, but just how I can understand how these reality TV stars would cave to the pressure of a quick fix. You know what I mean? So TBD on that. Okay, now it's time for this week's deep dive. I'm super excited. We're going to talk the state of Summer House with Alyssa Amoroso. You might know her from Tea with Publicity. She's a former entertainment publicist turned social media influencer and star. And I'm so excited because I just checked this week's Summer House ratings was horrific. So we're going to talk to her about what she thinks they need to do moving forward to get back on track and just break down this season that has been truly dreadful. Let's welcome Alyssa. Alyssa, thank you for joining MPT.
Thanks for having me.
I am so excited because I love your social media anyways, but I also love
Mhm.
your takes on Summer House because sometimes I want to shake the fan base because I'm like, you
Yep.
guys don't get it. And I feel like I see your clips. I'm like, Alyssa gets it. And I thought you would be the perfect person because we're halfway through the season and it's just not hitting. I think we can
Mm.
all agree. Let's just start with your first impression on this season.
So I think before we even jump in, I think what you said is so accurate because sometimes I'm like, why is no one articulating like the thoughts that I'm having?
Yeah.
Because when you are in a group text with your friends, they're sharing the same sentiment as you, but then you go online and no one is saying the same things. And I'm like,
Yeah.
am I crazy? So I always try to just like share my opinion, even if it's like not the popular one.
Mm-hmm.
But I do feel like a lot of people feel the way you and I are feeling. It's just like maybe not something that's like as easy to vocalize because
Yes.
it's like kind of hard to like sometimes pinpoint what you're not even liking about the season.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's so much this season that I'm just like not really loving or connecting with. I think, first of all, the ratio of female to male is just like really off. I think there's a huge discrepancy in the ages. Like some people are
Yes.
25, other people are 40.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels like a little off balance this season, and it doesn't feel like super cohesive.
Yeah, what do you think about the newbies? Because we've seen none of Chris. And I will
Yeah.
say this past episode, I think we had big moments for both Gabby and Sam. You know, when
Mhm.
Sam kind of really articulated the situation with Danielle and Lindsay, where she says, you know, if you need alcohol to have this friendship, like that's another problem. And then I also loved Gabby's moment when she's like, you know, if it comes across to you like I am being what was it, maybe arrogant, she's like,
Mm.
I'm not gonna, maybe I'm overcorrecting, but I'm not going to change myself because I took a long time to get here. But
Mm.
honestly, it wasn't even until like those moments where I was like, oh, like maybe they could stay a couple of seasons.
I 100% agree. I think that I saw today in page 6 that Sammy, that's her name, right?
Sam, yeah.
Sam, she confirmed that her and Corey are dating.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing that, I think he could be a great addition to the show. I think she'll probably stay because she does have a big personality. And I also do agree with her opinions when she vocalizes them. I feel like newbies don't have an opportunity a lot of time to vocalize their opinions. And you usually have to see that second season. But the little bit that we've seen, I've already agreed with her like more than some of the house. I think what's happening what's the disconnect is that people don't like Lindsay for other reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And they're using her relationship with Carl as a crutch to finally go after her.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I actually think if you're looking at her relationship with Carl, it's like, seems like the healthiest relationship she's ever been in. It seems like she's in the stage of her life where she wants to settle down and she wants to be with someone and she wants to start a family. And if she wants to like be sober or support him, like, in my opinion, that's her prerogative. And I don't really understand because I feel like it's like a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. If she drinks every weekend, then she's not a great girlfriend. If she doesn't drink, then she's boring. So I feel like she's in a lose-lose and people are almost using her relationship with Carl as a reason to be like, we don't like Lindsay. It's like, no, you don't like Lindsay for other things.
Yeah. And I mean, I even read an interview that she did with Bryce Sanders in Entertainment Tonight. And she said, I mean, even look at Winter House, which was 6 months before, and Lindsay was completely sober. And you have Paige say she should stay sober. And then 6 months later, they're at Summer House and they're like, why are you changing your drinking habits for your partner? So, you know, she had the same sentiment where she's like, I feel like no matter what I do, I'm fighting a losing battle. Obviously, early in the season, it was the Carl versus Kyle, which I really don't feel like has been resolved. They're just sweeping things under the rug. But that has been not Kyle, Carl's MO from the beginning. I mean, he never has liked confrontation. Anytime there was a confrontation, he like ran the other way. Yeah. But I thought this from the beginning, and this is one of the points where I'm like, nobody is understanding this. When they're in business together, Carl is the VP of sales. why is the VP of sales doing a 15-city tour in different cities doing these meet and greets? Like, is that part of the job? And I think you made a great point where he's then acting more like a brand ambassador, doing all of these influencer events that maybe he's not getting paid for. Can you break that down a little bit more?
Yeah. So my perspective on that, at being a former publicist, I was looking at the situation, and if I was Lindsay, I'm just putting myself in her shoes as the girlfriend. I'd probably be giving similar advice to her behind the scenes, to be completely transparent. And I don't know what she is or isn't saying, but I'm just saying I could only imagine.
Right.
And how I feel is that basically it is probably normal for head of sales to go to these types of things. Like, I do believe that is normal. I think the differentiator here is that they're not a normal person. They're a quote unquote celebrity or influencer, whatever you want to call it. They're a public figure, let's say. So the issue is, when you're a public figure and you're going to a tasting at a liquor store, you're not just someone from sales standing behind the booth doing a tasting. You're someone taking photos with people, you're getting interviews. You're basically being used as like a human marketing prop. So if you're an influencer getting invited to like a third party brand event, you're usually getting compensated for your time, for your travel, for your time, for your energy. So what I'm saying is, like, Carl as a public figure, yes, that's his job, but he's being utilized as a public figure to promote the brand and probably not being compensated for it, I could assume. So, like, I'm sure, you know, he has equity in the company, and like, I'm sure in the beginning it's all fun and games because like all ships rise together, whatever that saying is. But I'm sure after a while, when you're like breaking your back, it's probably like, I'm not making enough for this shit.
Yeah.
This is all just assumptions, but if I had to draw a conclusion, like, that's what I think is going on. And I think that's what they can't really talk about and break the third wall on the show and be like, dude, like, I'm a public figure.
Right. And not to mention, when you think of the progression of Loverboy, at the beginning, it would be different because Carl was still drinking. But then we go through the pandemic where everything stops. He loses his brother, you know, due to addiction. He decides to get sober. And then you come out of the pandemic where you then have all of those type of, you know, responsibilities. But it's not the same as it was 2 years ago. So I'm like, I don't understand how it's hard for Kyle to figure that out or even put two and two together, but he automatically thinks that it's Lindsay. And I think Lindsay gets, you know, branded the publicist a lot, you know, even by her cast and by people on social media who they're like, oh, she does this because she was a former publicist. She says this because she's a former publicist. Yeah. Do you notice any of those types of things? Like, do you think she does that?
I think they're all a lot more calculated than the public thinks. I think Bravo has this format, which I feel like I say this a lot behind the scenes and maybe not as much publicly, but happy to say it publicly. This is, again, just my opinion, but I think that Bravo kind of, for all of their shows across the board, has reinforced this narrative of your job isn't secure, so you need to have a good season. If you don't bring the drama, we might not bring you back next season.
Absolutely.
So then what happens is you see people pushing the boundaries until they're so hated, they have no choice but to leave. We saw Lisa Vanderpump do it. We saw Lisa Rinna do it. We've seen it happens, not really with Hannah Berner, because I think that was more of like a bad edit, but we've seen these people like keep bringing it until they're like so kind of out of touch with reality. And I think not just as it pertains to Lindsay, I think a lot of people on these shows and on these casts save storylines for the cameras. So for example, like they're getting engaged during the summer. They're having birthday parties at the house. They're, I don't know, whatever it is, saving
Maya's fight with Lindsay, you know, that they had in LA. That was 2 months later that then gets brought up.
A year later, we're seeing a fight on air. Yeah. So point being, I don't think it's just her. I think everyone across the board saves their drama And it's not that it's like fake drama, but they're saving these heavy conversations for TV because they know the more they have on air, the more of a chance they have of being brought back next season. So Bravo's kind of created like this beast in a sense.
Little monsters.
Yes, yes, literally.
Do you think that's what Danielle is doing?
I bet Danielle was feeling these feelings. Like, I bet she was feeling them and keeping them in. But I do think I think part of me kind of, in a sense, feels bad for Danielle because although I don't agree with her, they're all persuading her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you have someone in your ear being like, she's such a bad friend to you, she's so this, she takes advantage of you, Danielle's getting fired up.
Yeah.
And like, I don't even know if it's like Danielle going in with a plan. I think it's like she's feeling some type of way. Then everyone in the house is like, oh, you're finally seeing it. They're reinforcing all these feelings that she's having. I feel like they're almost like going hard to get her on the I Hate Lindsay bandwagon. Mm-hmm. And it's just fueling the fire.
Well, I also hate too that, like, you know, in one of Danielle's last confessionals on this week's episode, she's like, I don't regret it. You know, I don't regret standing up to her. And people say like, oh, Danielle finally got a backbone. And I'm like, I don't necessarily consider listening to Paige and Amanda and automatically taking their opinion because they're finishing your thoughts, you know, your drunken thoughts by, you know, like they're all sitting in the room. Let me try to explain this better. And Paige is like, or she's like, I feel like Lindsay, and she's like, dulls your shine, you know, like saying things, just planting the seeds in her head. And then Danielle twists it and says, oh, well, I have a backbone. And it's like, no, taking other people's opinions and making them your own doesn't, to me, scream you have a backbone. That, to me, kind of says that they manipulated you in this situation.
Or they're planting the seed.
Yeah, made it worse.
That's kind of what I'm saying. Like, I do feel like they're influencing these negative feelings towards Lindsay, which, back to my initial point from the jump, is like, they don't like Lindsay for other reasons. Mm-hmm. And they're using the relationship with Carl as like finally the thing that they could be like, gotcha.
Yeah.
Like, caught ya. Do you know what I mean? It's like the relationship is the tangible thing for them to latch onto. It's their first excuse to be like, this is why we don't like you.
Do you have a theory on why they actually don't like her? Because I have one.
Not per se. And like, I've met Lindsay like many times. She's come on my podcast, and I think she would even admit this. Like, she's not like super warm all the time to everyone that you've seen on the show. Mm-hmm. I feel like she is very guarded, and I'm sure it comes down to just like maybe some personalities like not clicking or not gelling or whatever it is. I don't know her well enough to like know what they don't like about her, but I just feel like they're always making little comments like, I just don't get the vibe they fuck with her, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't get the vibe. Like, I don't know what it is or why. I just don't think they like her. They all talk shit. Like, when cameras go down, you hear them at the reunions, like chattering.
Yeah. I also think that it all stemmed from what Lindsay brings up on camera. You know, with Amanda, it was the whole cheating rumor that happened, I think like season 3, where she was like, I heard a rumor, Kyle, that you cheated on Amanda in April. And then Lindsay brings it up on camera. And then you have a very similar situation with the Kristen, Paige, and Craig love triangle, where she brings it up on camera. And, you know, even at that reunion, I don't know if it was at the reunion, but there was some time where Paige had said, you know, this is a reoccurring theme with Lindsay where she brings these things up on camera. And it's like, if you're my actual friend, wouldn't you tell me? But it's like, if you don't want somebody to bring something up on camera, reality TV might not be the career path for you.
It's kind of like okay, I'm trying to think how I feel about that because I get it. I'd be like, why do you have to bring this up on camera? But then I get the counter argument of like, why wouldn't I? You know, I understand, but it goes back to exactly what I just said about how people save conversations for camera. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's just exclusive to her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think everyone does it. I think people or people present themselves at least a certain way. Like if you want to be a goody two shoes on camera, you're going to be a goody two shoes, and then off camera, go be a raging psycho. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Everyone's hiding something or showing a certain side.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that's a good point that it could be those things. I think it's been years and years of build up.
Yeah, definitely.
Like said, this is what they're pegging it on. This is their excuse now.
Definitely. I also, when you said that people kind of want to shield, the public from things, I feel like it was made pretty apparent in this week's episode with Robert and Danielle. I don't know if you got the chance to watch this week's episode. Have you?
Did. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because, they have that conversation in their apartment. And to me, he just looks completely like checked out. And I don't know if maybe I am judging him too harshly on that one conversation. But then obviously it begs the question, and I asked this on my social media this week, like, do we think it's more that Danielle is projecting onto Lindsay, or do we think that Lindsay is neglecting her friendship with Danielle? And I honestly think that it's both. But do you see like a way for these two to ever be back? I mean, I also looked at Danielle's Instagram comments because I just am not really seeing anything that Lindsay's doing that warrants this huge fallout. And all Danielle says is like, you'll see, keep watching, you'll see. And it's like at this point though, I almost think it's too far gone, because it's like anything we do have to see how extreme it is. But at this point, anything that Lindsay would do would be in response to the things that Danielle is currently doing. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's not just completely out of the blue that she like blows up and gets activated. So, I mean, what are your overall thoughts on the feud, and do you think that they'll reconcile?
It seems like a really silly thing to end a friendship to me.
Yeah.
It seems, I try to look at it, I don't know, because I have two sides to this. I have the side of, I've been like Danielle before, where I've given to friendships, and they're not giving back. And you're like, what's this bringing to my life? What value is this bringing? Like our whole relationship relies on like me helping you and me giving you advice and you doing nothing for me. So like I've been in that situation, if Danielle's feeling that way, which it seems like she is. I've also been in situations where friends have gotten boyfriends, and it's like, that's aging, that's maturing. That's what happens when you meet your person. You become a unit. Like you guys they go on vacations together. They spend all their time together. Like that's kind of part of like, you just got to deal with it.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean you can't have your girl times and you're this and you're that, but it's not going to be maybe as frequent.
Yeah. It just looks different. Yeah.
And I think back to your point about Robert, I think there's a few things happening. It does feel like projection to me, especially knowing now they're not together any longer. I think also, I think it's different. How do I word this? Because I really like Danielle, so I don't want to be rude. I think when you can't see your partner because of like something like a job, it's easy to be like, I like going out. I like seeing my friends.
True.
Because the option isn't there to always be attached to him.
True.
But the second that we saw an opportunity for her to go out and be wild and he was present, she wanted to go to bed early.
Yeah.
So it's like, do you really want to like be going out and drinking all the time? Or are you just doing it because you really don't have an option because your boyfriend works 80 hours a week?
Yeah, that is such a good point. And I mean, I am in that situation too. My fiance lives in London, so we're all the time back and forth. Yes. So it's like when he's here, I cherish our time so much together that I hoard him a little bit, and then when he's not here, that's when I'm texting my girlfriends and like, let's have a girls' day. Maybe that means I'm a bad friend. I don't know.
But that's my point. That's just human nature is my opinion.
Yeah. I do. I feel you. What is your opinion on Craig and Paige's relationship?
I don't really know if I have an opinion like on their relationship. Like it feels like it works for them. I've I'm not a huge Southern Charm watcher. Like I've tuned in and I've tuned out and I've seen little bits of it. And I just like kind of know who he is from like Winter House and like obviously from Summer, Southern Charm, but like I don't really know his whole history much other than like the basics. I mean, I think they seem happy together. Like I feel like they wouldn't be in it if they weren't. I agree with her though about like, you couldn't pay me to move to South Carolina tomorrow. Like being a girl living in New York, now LA, it's like I'm like Paige, like we're like Italian, we're from like, you know, like we have my upbringing is most like Paige of anyone on the show. So I'm like, you can't put like my Italian ass in, like,
with the paisley prints.
Yeah, I'm like, I could never. So like I feel for her because I'm like, if the love of my life was in Charleston, like I don't know what I would do.
Yeah.
Like, I don't blame her for wanting to hold on to staying in New York. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know if I'm head over heels in love. Am I just wearing Lily Pulitzer?
Let's just be thankful that it's not us in that position and it's her.
Yeah. Oh, I really don't know.
So also, Summer House related, not on the episode, Sierra and Maya announced this week that they are dropping a new podcast. I think it's called Codependent.
Yes, I saw that.
What are your thoughts on that? I'm honestly shocked that not one other, well, I guess Paige with Giggly Squad, but that there's no other Summer House podcasts.
Yeah, that is interesting. I think Carl had one like a while ago for like a minute. And like I'm talking like in 2018. I think it's great. Sure. Like,
yeah,
I don't know what they're going to talk about, but I mean, just like, I don't even mean that in a shady way. Like I didn't see what they said it, like the theme is or anything, but I like Ciara. Like I've hung out with her in New York. Maya seems cool. Like, I don't know. I think why not? More power.
Yeah, I know people are being kind of negative about it on social media, but they are. I mean, people are just negative in general. I feel like anytime, and I don't necessarily think that this season of Summer House is doing them any favors to then launch a podcast. However, what I will say, and something I find interesting that we don't really see on the show, they're like best friends, and they seem to have a lot of fun together. And we don't see any of that. So I'm hoping that maybe, obviously it's part of my job to listen to all these people's podcasts. Yeah. So I'm hoping that maybe we'll be able to see a little bit more of their personalities shine when they're not being edited away into nothing. Yeah. But I know people are just like automatically being pessimistic about it. And I get it. Not everybody needs a podcast. I get the argument. People probably say that about me too. So I'll give Sierra and Maya my best shot. But
I just feel like it doesn't hurt anyone to have one. Like it's up to viewers if they want to tune in. So,
and like you said, like their jobs are not guaranteed. And especially when you consider Sierra moved her whole entire life from Atlanta to New York City, like what happens if they don't get asked back? They better have something going on that can generate revenue.
Yeah, I'm all about people trying different things. Like, what does the public care? Like, if you don't want someone's podcast, just don't listen.
Don't listen to it. Yeah.
Like, that's how I feel. That's why I'm like, I don't care. Like, whatever you want. There's so many podcasts out there. I don't listen to half of them. And like, or I do. Or if they have a good interview or guest on, like, I'll probably be tuning in,
Right. To wrap things up, what do you think that Summer House should do moving forward?
Oh, I have the best idea.
You got it.
I like pitched this to Bravo. And by pitch this, I mean, I just tagged them all over social media. I don't even care. Don't even give me credit. Just do this. I think, and they kind of are doing it because we're seeing Summer House Martha Vineyard come out.
Yes.
They launched or they announced. I said that they should take this current cast of characters because we want to follow Paige and Craig. We want to follow Carl and Lindsay, Kyle and Amanda. Like we care about them now. We're invested. And I don't want to see them off TV. I don't want to take their jobs from them. What I think they need to do is turn it into like a Southern charm / like housewifey type of vibe and film them in New York City. And they could do cast trips to the Hamptons, kind of like how housewives do cast trips. And I think they should just do it in the city, follow their lives, not in this house. And then I think they should recast Summer House, all new, young, single cast, people that want to hook up with each other, people that are actually dating, going out, all the same age, diverse people. I think that's the smartest PR strategy for them moving forward.
Yeah, it makes total sense because like you said, these people are growing up. They're in their late 30s, early 40s. They want to get married. They want to have babies. Like they're just not going to be going to the Hamptons every weekend.
It's just not believable that they even want to be in that house all together. It's like,
yeah,
you guys hate each other.
yeah. Especially like they can't even use all the rooms anymore.
Yeah.
They're having to like bunk up.
I'm like, you guys literally don't want to hang out. Like, this is painful. I think that's the issue. It's like,
yeah.
Come on.
Well, Alyssa, if Bravo uses that, you can totally claim credit. Yes. You can bill them for your 10% royalties.
Yes.
I had so much fun chatting Summer House with you. Please tell everyone if they don't know where they can find you on social media and your podcast where they can find you.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you. My podcast, I talk about pop culture, body image, taboo female topics. It's called Tea with Publicity. It's a play on words between my nickname Liz and the word publicity. So it's Publilyssity, and my handles are publicity across Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, you name it. So thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for coming. We'll talk soon.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks again for listening to another episode of MPT. If you haven't left your review yet, please do so. I'm sad because my fiance leaves in 2 days. He's going back to London for 2 months and I'm disassociating my feelings. I'm suppressing all types of emotions. So if you want to send a little love you like a sis, I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget, we did Extra Pop this week. We broke down episodes 4 through 6 of Love is Blind. Another Bachelor Brain Dump is coming out tomorrow, Friday, on the Patreon. The link is in the description below. Thanks again for hanging out. See you next week. And as always, love you like a sis.